Left in Kentucky, the podcast of Indivisible, Northern Kentucky. Hello, everybody. Welcome back for our next episode. Yours truly, Roberto Henriquez here, followed as always by the lovely and talented Miss Ann Dickerson.
Hello, everyone.
And the lovely
Hello.
and the lovely and talented Miss Amy Ferguson. How you guys doing this week?
Yeah, he reversed the order on us, Amy.
Well, that's just keeping it fresh.
I'm trying to keep you guys on your toes. See? How you guys doing this week? Staying healthy over there?
Groovy, yes.
Hanging in.
Loving the farm life.
Gotta love the farm life.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm about ready to go camp out on her hammock.
Getting a little stir crazy there, Ann?
Well, I mean, yesterday I went over and spent like an hour and a half, something like that. And we stayed. It was so hilarious.
You did your social distancing, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And so I get out of my car with my mask on, walk through her front yard up to her front porch. I don't know why I wore my mask through the yard,
In case the llamas came close to you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was actually more worried about the chickens that were in the yard, but And so, but I went up on her front porch and we stayed on opposite ends of the porch the whole time. So we were easily 6 feet apart, but it was just nice to, I don't know, have that.
Very nice to have some one-on-one banter.
Yeah, and that adult outside of my normal zone conversation, that was exceptional.
I envy you guys. I haven't had that.
Well, you need to come over.
I do need
Obviously.
to come over. So I've been playing in the garden. That's how I've been passing time for the during the
Well, my hoe
COVID-19.
broke. Can you believe this, guys? My
I
hoe
did not.
broke.
I did not.
I didn't say my hoe is broke.
See, I was going to take the high road and just let that just go right on by.
Sure you were.
So funny.
Oh, my God. So.
It's true story, though.
True story.
It's true. It broke.
Too funny. So let's see. Not much going on lately, I don't think. Let's see. We're still on quarantine, although they're starting to reopen things because, deaths are going up every place except for New York City. So obviously that's the time to reopen everything.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
COVID Karen has to get her nails done and her hair cut.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. I cut my son's hair yesterday and he looked terrified the entire time. It might have had to do with me saying, you don't mind a mohawk, do you?
Yeah.
Or it'll grow back.
Yeah, I said that too. No matter how bad it is, honey, it'll grow back. It's fine.
And see, my child has hair like a Brillo pad.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it is, his hair is so just ridiculously thick. There is no way in hell I would even attempt to cut that child's hair.
Wow.
I mean, there's no way. He's just gonna have to wait. Either that or he's got to do a summer buzz.
Yeah.
That's his own. There's no in between. Because if I tried to cut his hair, I'd probably just put a big chunk in there and then have no idea how to fix it.
Yeah, so I know Saturday was like an absolutely gorgeous day, absolutely glorious, and it was such a great, beautiful day that some folks decided to visit Frankfurt.
Oh, yes, they did.
We had guests from out of state even that decided to pose with some of our state representatives. So I think that'll transition us nicely into our cow patties. What do you think, Ann?
Yeah.
Oh my!
I know, like that sound she made is like the one I make when I step in one in the field.
I mean, My cow patty for this week goes to the GOP leadership. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the second week in a row that I've had to tag them.
Yep.
I think
But-
it might be.
Yeah, let's talk about the past week and a half. They have had 2 of their members arrested for DUIs. They've had 1 arrested for domestic violence for attempting to hog tie and choke his wife. And what additional charges will come from that, who knows? And now they've got their Stepford legislator, Savannah Maddox, posing for pictures with white supremacists doing the white power sign with her hand. And she's all smiles like she's at freaking Disneyland.
Yep.
Speaking of
And-
Disneyland.
Yeah, I mean, none of the leadership has spoken up. Damon Thayer hasn't said anything. Osborne hasn't said anything.
What?
Stivers hasn't said anything. Nobody in any position of leadership with the Kentucky Republican Party has said a word about any of these incidents, right? Even though you've got people the one chick that was arrested for DUI and who, man, the police report is out there and she was just belligerent. I mean.
Oh, really? I haven't seen the police report on that one.
Oh, you've got to look that up. Woo, that's purty.
Wow.
It's
My
purty,
goodness.
right? She's not even in the legislature. She's actually a candidate running for office, and they're not calling on her to drop out.
Really?
Yeah,
Jeez.
I mean,
Sadly, people will still vote for her.
yeah, the days of minimum standards are long gone.
Thanks,
Long
Trump.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Now,
There's no bar anymore. None.
Well, Savannah's what I like to call an Alec bot. I don't think she actually has any original thoughts of her own.
That's why I call her the Stepford legislature,
Mm-hmm.
because she clings on to rich, white politicians, and she waits for them to spoon feed her what they want her to do, because she can get away with looking like a dumb schmuck, and they can't. Because
I don't know. Massey does a pretty good job. Of it.
yeah.
right, but here's the thing. Here's the difference, right? She's claiming stupidity. That's her defense, and
Right.
she'll get away with it. Which is
Because
just,
it's
Well,
believable.
I've met her, and I would buy that argument.
Yeah.
but to sit here and say, well, I didn't even know that was the white power symbol. What rock did you crawl out of to become a member of the legislature? And this is what happens when you take someone with no lived experience and elevate them to this kind of position.
Yeah.
And
True.
and that's the background.
Yeah.
It is obvious that she is just not knowledgeable about anything. The things that she says about the Constitution are blatantly false, but she'll scream it and she'll get cheered on.
Well, if you
by the-
scream something loud enough, it becomes true.
Right. And you've got this guy who's standing up on the steps as she's speaking at this rally, waving a Confederate flag. I mean, the level of irony cannot be understated here.
No.
You
You
have
don't
somebody,
get it, though.
right? You have somebody talking about tyranny. They even compared themselves to slaves.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, really? I bet the slaves would have been thrilled to have been secluded in their home, as opposed to what they actually had to do.
She was talking about how we were prisoners in our homes when she was standing 85 miles away.
Yeah,
from
Right,
where does she live again? I don't believe
right,
it's on the steps of Frankfurt.
right, right. I mean, and then you've got,
We're imprisoned.
yeah, we're in prison, but we're gonna come out here and protest. Like what? And then she's screaming about, nobody's gonna force me to get a vaccine, and you got this preacher up there. Everybody, you don't need a mask. Take your mask off, and the sheer volume of ignorance was just overflowing. It just dirtied the whole grounds of the Capitol last
Yeah.
weekend. It amazes me. Amazes me. This country has fought 2 wars against these type of people, and the country has won every time. But they're still clinging to their Confederate flag or their Nazi flag as if that's supposed to help their cause. That's a slap in the face
Yeah.
to every individual who has ever served in any capacity whatsoever. It is
They're
the
scared.
antithesis of
They're
what this
scared.
country stands for.
They're scared. It's fear. They're afraid that their good old boy way of life is going away because people are more connected now than ever. And our differences mean less than what we have in common. And that scares them. That makes them lose power and they're afraid. And I pity them. I do.
So on the Kentucky GOP, was there anybody in the Kentucky GOP that actually came out and said something about all of these arrests?
Yeah, and that's
He asks as if he already knows the answer.
here's where it gets really good. Because you have the former speaker, Jeff Hoover, who has been blasting them left and right. And God love him for doing it. Because he has been calling them out. Like, why, he even, what did he do? It kind of tied us to another thing. George W. Bush released that video, that unity video.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen it or not.
Oh, yeah.
About
I've
during
seen
this
it.
time.
Trump
crisis.
loved it. He loved it.
Yeah.
Trump.
Hoover even connected it to that and said these people would not be in the same party. And he said this man would never be able to get elected by today's Republican Party. And that's a shame. So
Oh,
it's
there's
just
a
really
party of Trump
interesting.
now.
And and more of your, old school traditional Republicans are pointing that out. So I don't know. I mean, I give mad props to Mr. Hoover for speaking out, and I hope he continues to speak out because I do believe there is a place in politics for all of that. If you're a registered Democrat, you should be calling out that type of behavior from people within, just like Republicans should. We shouldn't accept a lower standard just because our party has some perceived power.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I long for traditional Republicans to speak out about what has become of their party and these candidates that they're not Republicans. They're something else.
Right.
Right. Well, that reminds me. You know who else called it out is oh gosh darn it, what's his name? He's from up here in northern Kentucky. William. He ran for governor. Woods.
Oh, William Woods.
Well, he's
Yes.
he's a common sense guy, so that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, he is very much that old school, traditional Republican that, like my grandparents or my parents would recognize.
Right.
So he has stepped up. He has called it out as well.
Good. All right. That was a good cow patty. Excellent one.
Yeah. Well.
What do you got, Amy? Something new and
Tangent.
fresh?
Oh yeah, a smelly one from Saturday to Unfortunately, our state senator decided to stand next to Alec Bott, Stepford wife addicts. And this man's supposed to represent me and in my district. So, Mr. John Schickel is going to be the of my cow patty this time, and he was up there pushing to have the nursing homes opened up to visitors. Now, come on, I can understand if you need to open your business um, to make money. But let's be real, they're not charging the visitors to come in. So this is like something that's not even going to help our economy,
Wow.
you know. So obviously the man does not understand science at all.
Clearly.
So I don't know. I don't know if he was just trying to stir up something. I think even some of these wackadoodles would draw the line before that. I mean, come on. It's one thing to say, I gotta sell my bits and baubles. I gotta have my storefront. I gotta make my whatever. But it's another thing to say, well, let's just kill grandma. I don't know.
Right.
Grandma's had a good run.
Well, John's no spring chicken. I mean, come on, John. He, I didn't really like him when he was our sheriff here in Boone County. I'll admit it.
Yep.
But he did an okay job. He wasn't horrible. But his level of
He was better.
incompetence
He was
has
better than
grown.
he was better than the sheriff up in Butler County. I'll say that.
Well, that's a whole other nesting ass.
I'm just letting people know where the bar is here.
Yeah, it's gone. It's long gone. We should tie into that too, Amy. I just thought of another point of irony in all of this. While John and Savannah are out there gallivanting around with the rebels from Florida who
Right.
traveled here to support their cause, people are carrying signs that say "My body, my choice"
I know.
about wearing a mask. And right next to him is another lady talking about the real pandemic is abortion. And I'm like, you just can't plan this any better.
That's the
Couldn't
thing
have
about
had this
irony.
set it
It's
up
so
and you just
ironic.
sit here and oh God. And it's totally lost on them.
Yeah.
Totally lost on them.
You guys, we need to fund our education system.
Yeah. Desperately. All right, that was a good cow patty. Good, John Schickel. So we'll definitely I'll play it again for him.
Yours.
So
Oh.
my cow patty this week, which
The cows are running across the field.
which I will explain. My cow patty goes to Democratic candidate Charles Booker.
No.
Yeah.
Charles.
So our regular listeners will know that this week Charles was supposed to be on our show, and just a couple of hours before our recording, I got an email saying that he wouldn't be able to join us, which happens. That stuff happens. No big deal. But the reason that he was not able to join us was because Indivisible Northern Kentucky, after polling our membership and getting over 100 responses, just over 100 responses, I think we ended up with like 101 or 102, something like that. So let's say 100. We ended up endorsing Mike Breuer in the race, the primary race for U.S. Senate, that will end up meeting Mitch McConnell, assuming he wins his primary in the fall. So Indivisible Northern Kentucky, we endorsed Mike Breuer based on our membership's feedback. And Charles Booker's campaign said that given that our group had decided to actively support one of his opponents in the primary, he didn't feel comfortable sitting for our interview.
Right. Well, Mitch is going to be a lot rougher on him than we would have been.
Yeah, I have several issues with that. I think most people that listen to our podcast know that I ran for state rep a couple of years ago, and I'm running again this year. But I also, I didn't get some endorsements that I would have liked to have gotten when I ran 2 years ago. But that didn't mean that I said, well, I didn't get that group's endorsement, so I'm not going to talk to any of that group's members or sit for an interview that would help me get my word out or my message out or anything like that. This is politics, and groups endorse. Some groups endorse, some groups don't. But at the end of the day, as a candidate, you want to get your message out to as many people as possible, especially areas that will give you a friendly platform. And I think, while we did not endorse Charles is definitely a progressive candidate and has progressive position and progressive platforms. So, an interview with us would be a good place for him to get that message out. So anyway, because of that,
It's nothing personal, Charles.
yeah,
It's democracy, man.
Yeah, I just didn't feel comfortable not giving the cow patty to you this week. So, so congratulations on that. All right, moving on. We have the Bullhorn Award. The Bullhorn Award.
Bullhorn Award.
This one's a big one. Ann, you want to announce who has won our Bullhorn Award this week?
Well, we have two, but the biggest one is going to be the Louisville Courier-Journal winning the Pulitzer Prize for breaking news.
Pulitzer.
Pulitzer Prize winning.
The category that the category that they won for was breaking news, and oddly enough, it was for the story on Matt Bevin's pardons as he was, leaving the governor's mansion and those horrific pardons.
Oh, I remember us giving him a patty for that.
Backdoor deals that went down. Right. I mean, one of the guys who he gave a pardon to, who was a known pedophile, sex offender, is already back in jail, for goodness sake.
Wow.
So
I think the feds picked him up.
I mean, that was, but it's such a good thing with all of these newspapers right now, furloughing staff, furloughing reporters, having to make the reporters that they do have kind of go in cycles, like, this one will be furloughed this week, this one will be furloughed next week, and so on. And they kind of do this revolving thing now.
Yeah, they're basically doing rotating.
So some of them are.
They're doing rotating layoffs.
Right. And so kudos to them for demonstrating the need for a free press.
Yes.
And for a press that goes out and tells the truth. We need more of that, not less. They need to be uplifted. And, it's one paper in the state that I would definitely recommend if somebody was going to spend, a small amount of money every month on something, I would highly recommend it because they do an excellent job. And their reporters, even though they're in Louisville and we're up here, their reporters have always been good to us.
Yes.
Yep. Definitely. I agree wholeheartedly. And I think it's important to select a newspaper or a couple of newspapers online. I don't get any physical newspapers. I get all my news online, but there are a couple that I support and I buy an annual subscription to. because I want to support those news sources that I think are good and still do valuable investigative reporting. And that's something that we desperately need, especially in today's environment. We need
Right.
to
Thanks,
support
Trump.
investigative reporting.
Thanks, Trump. God.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. Support a couple of those, and
Yeah, I can tell you, moving from Louisville to Northern Kentucky, I missed the Courier Journal. I missed having that local paper that was pretty balanced. I mean, they have a liberal leaning, it's always been that way, but they were pretty balanced and fair about how they reported. And I missed that coming up here. I felt like the Cincinnati papers didn't really talk to the Northern Kentucky, and the Northern Kentucky paper was just very surface, sort of not really in depth.
no, not at all.
So yeah, I really missed that. I missed this, CJ.
Yeah, I was I moved to Seattle and lived in Seattle for a few years, and going from the Cincinnati Post and Inquirer to the Seattle Post Intelligencer was was quite the shock in the level of journalism. It was I don't know how familiar you guys are with Post Intelligencer in Seattle, but they have won numerous awards for their journalism, and it definitely shows.
You can tell the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. So those are our cow patties and our Bullhorn award. As I said in the cow patties.
Oh, you forgot one.
Did I? What'd I forget?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, Jeff Hoover. We were going to give him.
Oh yeah.
A bullhorn too for having the guts to stand up and say something about what's happening.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover.
Yeah. He might want to think about just becoming a Democrat.
Somebody might have mentioned that to him.
I doubt he's ready to jump that shark. I think he's just yearning for,
normalcy.
Yeah, the party the way it used to be.
Well, keep your backroom deals in the background.
Had morals and scruples.
Somebody did suggest that to him, so
that's funny.
Well, at least they pretended to. Yeah. They didn't wave their guns around on the Capitol steps.
I gotta say, I know we're done with this segment, but still, I mean, guns and a rally because of a virus. I'm like, are they going to shoot the droplets in the air? What is the point?
No, that's some trick shooting I want to see.
Right. I mean, you just sit there and go, on what planet does anybody think this makes any sense? They look ridiculously stupid. Okay, I'll end there.
That's great. Alrighty, so we have no interview this week, so we'll end up with a shortened episode. We want to make sure everybody is following us, so please make sure you're following us if you aren't already. Suggest us to your friends so that
right. And if you have any suggestions of guests or anybody you want to hear from on the show, let us know.
Yep. Next week, we will be talking with Ryan Salzman, who is a political scientist from Northern Kentucky University. He's a professor and political scientist, appears on shows often in the area, and he'll be talking about the upcoming primary and kind of giving us his take from a political science point of view on what we can expect and look forward to. So you'll make sure you want to tune into that. And remember, in Kentucky, we've got early voting. The mail-in voting, rather, has been approved for the primary. So they're working on the website for that so that you can request your early voting ballot. So make sure you pay attention for that. I think it's supposed to be up
fill
by...
out your census.
Yes, fill out your. I have filled out my census, and I'm really tired of people reminding me to fill out my census. So all of the rest of you guys
Same.
need to fill them out because I've already filled it out, and I don't want to
Already
hear
filled it
about
out.
I
did
already
it.
filled
I
mine
did it.
out.
The three of us have already filled it out. We don't want to hear any more
Quit
about
harassing us. We did it.
it. All right. So until next week, this is Roberto Henriquez.
Amy Ferguson
Ann Dickerson.
See ya.
and Ricardo.
Left in Kentucky, the podcast of Indivisible Northern Kentucky.